Tannehill is sacked. This time Dane Fletcher.
Hey.
This was the first down sack by Fletcher.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh. Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me.
Welcome to Fletcher's Unfiltered Podcast, touching on all things fitness, business, and issues in Montana. Welcome to episode 9 on Fletcher's Unfiltered Podcast. Beyond excited to have our guest today, Casey Anderson. Casey, thanks for being here, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was working really hard the last few weeks, and I was getting a hold of Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife Parks, trying to get a bear expert. 'Tis the season for bear experts. And I didn't know I had you in my back door, you know, of living in Immigrant. You live in Immigrant, correct?
Yeah, just down the way.
Yep. And the amount of knowledge that you have of bears and tracking animals in general is what I want to dig into today. I think it'd be insightful for everybody to hear. And I wanted somebody that really knows their shit on this and how to go about it, especially, you know, in the fall is bow hunting season, but even beyond that, you got a lot of hikers out there now, a lot of people on trails going into real bear country, and you're the guy. So also MSU grad. I watched your video before the Cat Grizz game, and I didn't realize the connection.
I forgot about that.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, just the tracks going to the Grizz. So I'm glad that we can come to terms on that first and foremost on the Grizz. Which, have you actually looked at as a bear expert? Have you looked at the Grizz logo?
Yeah.
Does it look like a Grizz track or a black bear track more?
Yeah, it looks like if a black bear and a grizzly had a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of wimpy grizz, which fits, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's something about the arc of the toes. So there's a thing. So the toes on a grizzly track has more of a straight line, and the logo of the Grizz emblem is a little arced.
Yeah.
Where a black bear is an arced track. So, yeah, not exactly right.
After I've been watching your content, I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't look like the Grizzlies logo. And I pulled the Grizzlies logo today. I was like, no, that ain't exactly right.
No, they got
Just
it wrong.
goes to show. One more thing they do wrong.
Exactly.
I want to talk about Brutus, the bear that you raise. Can you just kind of fill people in on your the Montana grizzly encounter?
Yeah, well, gosh. Yeah, almost 20. Jeez. I was 27.
Okay.
Doing a lot of wildlife filmmaking stuff, but also like part-time going and working at wildlife facilities, helping them, you know, figure out things to do with their animals, particularly bears. And I came across Brutus, which is just a little bear cub, 6 months old, not even 6 months old, 3 months old.
Crazy.
This big.
Damn.
And they were going to euthanize him. And he couldn't go back in the wild. And I was like 27. I'm like, hey, like maybe I should raise a bear. I don't know, you know, what I was thinking, but so yeah, got him from that facility, started raising him, built a sanctuary for him simultaneously. And then, yeah, just raising a grizzly bear was crazy because I was simultaneously going out, filming wildlife, being a wildlife documentary filmmaker. Then I would come home and try to take care of this bear and try to get the sanctuary going. And yeah, that's how that all started.
Was there a lot of rules and I watched Lion King.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Or not Lion King. I watched that too. What Tiger King?
Yeah.
Fuck, Tiger King. I watched Tiger King, and there didn't seem to be a lot of rules and regulations to having tigers in captivity. What about your experience?
No, exactly the same. And
Really?
so really it kind of boils down to why that bear even existed. It's because people that had no business even having animals had them trying to turn a dollar. And 99% of captive wildlife situations in the world really are that. They're pretty much terrible.
Yeah.
And he was just a product of that. In fact, what they would do is that they would mate their adults, and then they'd have these little cubs. And people would pay money to hold the little cubs and bottle feed them. And like, I'm talking like $100 for like 5 minutes. And they would just turn and burn. People would just come in. And then when the season was over and those little cubs were turning into teenage bears, no one wants to see teenage bear. They want to see a giant bear or a little tiny cub.
Yeah.
So they just get rid of them. And that's legal. And still is actually legal.
Get rid of them in what sense? Like
Euthanize them.
euthanize them.
Yeah, and you know, euthanize is a nice word for a lot of time shooting them in the head.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it would operate out there. And I'd run into this a fair amount of times and was like, you know, I don't want to be part of this. What could I do to clean it up?
Yeah.
And ultimately, even the sanctuary Montana grizzly encounter, I want that place to go extinct. I'm not anti-captive wildlife, but I'm dang near close to it. Just because, there's ways that we can keep animals out in the wild. And it's just all going to come down to choices that we make. And that's where they belong. They don't belong in a zoo. With that said, I have kids now. And when we go to the zoo, they get pretty stoked.
Right.
They're pretty excited about it.
Right.
And if that can inspire, if people can do it right, and right is, there's a lot of regulations and people are really accountable for the health and the well-being of those animals. Then I think there's maybe a place there, because I do see that inspiration in the younger generations that maybe will get them to want to go out and do something and make a difference into the wild somehow. The rules and regulations are becoming more. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But there was a time, I was 27 years old.
Raising a grizzly
and
bear.
I called people. I'm like, hey, I'll do this and this. They're like, yeah, do it. I bought a trailer. He lived in the trailer. I actually went to my dad's house in Helena, camped the trailer in the backyard. We had a little grizzly bear back there. No one knew.
Yeah.
But I wasn't breaking any laws.
Yeah.
I made sure I was above board. And yeah, it was just it was like the Wild West if you look at it in some ways. But things have changed, and now you have to have a certain amount of experience and things on hand in order to do it, which is a good thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It doesn't seem like the bears living in the Montana grizzly encounter are hurting. You got 500 acres or something, isn't that right?
No, it's not. It's not hardly at all.
Oh,
no,
really?
It's like 5 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the thing about bears too in captivity. It's crazy is that they just don't. They do well in captivity.
Okay.
If a bear out in the wild, the number one reason why it's moving around so much is because it's looking for food.
Yeah.
And if you go to Alaska and hang out with those bears, and there's a salmon run, and there's salmon right there, their range in that period of time is about as big as this room. They go down to the river, eat salmon, they walk away. So in captivity, as long as a bear is comfortable, they do pretty well. And so it is one of those things like, if you can take a bear from a bad situation, give them a nice place to live, people can come and be educated about these animals. That's a win-win, especially if the bears are happy. And the truth is, if you opened up the gates and said be free, those bears wouldn't go anywhere because they're living high on the hog. They're eating avocados and salmon and chicken and like as much as they want every day. They don't have to work hard for their food. They swim and they play. Mm-hmm. They get everything that they want. But at the same time, I spend a lot of time looking at wild bears, and there's a spirit that's definitely lost. And I always kind of feel bad. I wish that those bears could be out in the wild, just not realistic. And it's just the way it is. Like I said, I hope one day that goes extinct. But it's going to only go extinct if we could figure out how to live with these animals.
Correct. Like your videos and your content, I've been watching it nonstop for 2 days, and it's cool. I hit you up like 2 nights ago. Yeah. You got back to me the next morning, and we made this happen in 2 days. Like, I appreciate you coming on and being here.
Do it, man. Quick and dirty.
It's awesome.
Yeah, let's go.
It's unbelievable. And since then, I've just been locked in watching your content because it's so eye-opening to me. Your Instagram page, followed up with your website that you have. There's so much content that I feel like everybody needs to go watch. And now you have a YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I just started it because that's what all the kids are doing evidently.
Yeah.
Endless Venture.
Okay.
Yeah, so much of the same. Just me. Honestly, it's just like whatever makes me excited, and I have a lot of opportunity to be in crazy places in the world. So, I've been up in Alaska filming bears for Endless Venture. I've been tracking man-eating tigers in Nepal for Endless Venture. There's going to be a bunch of that. I was just in Nepal and India filming snow leopards all over the world. And then everything from like just out here in the backyard of Montana. Like I found a cave that no one's ever been in, a newly discovered cave in the Absarokas that I'm mapping out right now. We're about a mile into the mountains in these cave systems that no one's ever been in.
Whoa.
Documenting that whole thing. So it's just like a Montana kid having fun out in the woods and documenting it. And people love that stuff.
Is it the predators? It seems like the predators intrigue you more than anything else.
I would say, people ask me like, what's your title and like, what's your specialty? And I'd say I've specialized in big predators my entire life. For 30 years, it seems like what I've been focusing on is big predators and big predator conflict with people. Because usually there's people everywhere, and where there's big predators, there's conflict. Yeah. So I love telling those stories. There's super interesting stories, and we've got a good one right in our backyard with bears and grizzly bears and people.
Right.
Yeah.
Recently I started bow hunting last year, got into it, but I'm in bear country.
Yeah.
And now I'm hiking a lot, scouting a lot, and every weekend I'm going in different areas and whatnot. It as weird as it sounds, it excites me to go in those areas where I know there's more of an apex predator kind of always lingering around, just because you always have to be on your toes.
100%.
Yeah. And like when I'm hiking around, especially when I'm by myself, I am exhausted by the time I get back to my place at night, because like every adrenaline, everything is so heightened that when you get back and you can finally relax, A, it takes a couple hours just to relax, but B, then you're like, it's rewarding. And
Dude, yeah, it's not, when you said it's weird to feel that way, it's not weird at all.
okay.
There's a primordial part of you. That's what we used to do all the time. You know, for the last 200 years is the only time we haven't been doing that stuff, where we've created this little comfortable world where we walk around and don't worry about things that are going to eat us.
Yeah.
But there is that part of you, that ancient part of you in your DNA, that hunter inside of you.
Yeah.
That's done that for a long time and thrived in it. You're right. When you're out there, you're alive.
Right.
You feel really alive. You feel what it is to actually be on this earth as another animal, like you should be. Like, you know, it's like there's something about it. Like you said, you've never smelled the air so perfectly. You've never listened so hard, and every little crack you hear and look and you see everything. Your head's on a swivel constantly. It's intoxicating. I mean, some people it scares the shit out of them.
Correct.
They hate that feeling,
Yeah.
and they want to go back to their comfort little
Bubble.
place. Yeah. And those of us who tap into it, it becomes addictive. And I love it. I mean, I'll tell you, there's a couple things about hunting in grizzly country that I love about hunting in grizzly country. The riffraff's not up there anymore.
Yeah. Cleaned it up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a lot of people
You
where I'm
don't.
going.
Yeah. And the bottom line is, man, if you get to understand these animals, which I think if you're going to be in grizzly country hunting, you got to understand who they are and what they are and how they operate. It's just like anywhere, man. There's dangers everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go.
Yeah.
There's scarier shit right here in Bozeman when you walk down the street than there's out in the woods. And it's much more unpredictable than a bear, especially when you start to learn their language.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be in bear country than some of these rallies that are going on right now.
Dude, I drove right through one the other day and it was scary.
Yeah. That rally scares me 10x whatever anything up there in the woods does. So,
Totally.
Yeah. And it's funny because like playing out on the East Coast and down in Florida and stuff, my buddies always hit me up. They're like, "What are you doing?" You know, like, and where they literally can't comprehend. And I was on a podcast lately, and the guy's talking about how Zach's talking about how he sleeps with a gun on his chest when he takes a nap, just in case if a grizzly comes up when he's napping. And people can't even comprehend that yet. That's our living now, which is cool, or part of being, which is unbelievable.
And it would suck if it went away. And that's one thing I've been trying to really rally Montanans around. It's like, we are lucky that we have these things. There's other places you can go hunt. Go hunt in Colorado and tell me if you feel that way.
Right.
There's a lot of elk, but you don't feel that way. There's something about a place that it still gets 40 below zero. There's a grizzly bears running around the woods. You might want to look over your shoulder for a mountain lion once in a while. And you hear the howl of a wolf in the distance once in a while. It's badass. It's something we should be proud of. Now, does that mean we can't hunt these animals? Does that mean we can't manage them? No. When we figure out a way to live with them, and that's what we got to try to do. And it's hard. I mean, because there's a lot of people that think that all the predators need to go away, and there's a lot of people that think all the predators are really cute and we need to snuggle with them and stuff too. And that's not, neither of them are the truth. It's somewhere in the middle. And we got to. That's a big part of what I'm trying to do as a Montana kid. Right? It's like, hey, let's keep Montana.
Yeah.
Right. And this can go deeper than that. You know, let's keep it real and raw and what it is. And if people don't like it, they don't have to live here.
Yeah. No, and I'm 100% with you. And that's why I'm excited to talk about this. And I was thinking about how to formulate this question, because you had Brutus, your bear, who you raised as a cub. And then seeing the videos of you walking around with this huge grizzly bear, it looked like out in the wild. Where are you walking around?
Like by my house.
Yeah, right by your house. And
Yeah.
you're just walking around in the wild with this grizzly. You're not ever like worried that he's just going to flip this instinct switch and you're gone? Kind of like the guy in Alaska, right?
And the one thing, it's a good question, because was I ever worried? The day I became complacent to that is the day I would get killed. if I didn't pay attention, if I didn't worry about it or fear that might happen, game over, right?
Yeah.
Even around him every single day for 20 years, every time I was around him, I always had to pay attention to it. And I was reading his body language. I never pushed him to do things he didn't want to. I didn't play games with a grizzly bear, because then that's when you're going to lose. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was scared of him or like outright worried, but it was always on the back of my mind. And that's the respect a grizzly bear deserves, no matter where he comes from.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The difference between him and a wild bear, nothing, other than he's not afraid of people. And when you're out in the woods, that's the very thing that saves your butt, is that those bears are afraid of you anyway. They're more afraid of you than you are of them. And you can get yourself out of situations. He had nowhere to go. He had nothing to lose. If he wanted to tear my head off, he could do it like that.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, it's not without risk.
Yeah.
But the greatest things aren't without risk, right?
Well, and I did see, like, when you were walking, you always had your eye on him. You're kind of like, you're seeking I watched these little details. Like, you do always have your eye on the prize, which I was like, okay, it's not like you're out there going on jaunts with this bear. Like, you got your eye on him. You kind of sit on his back hind quarter so you can just kind of see where he wants to go. Like,
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
good. Yeah. You saw it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like you're playing with them and stuff like that, or you're coexisting with them, but you never just turned your back on them. I was like, that makes sense there. But to what you were saying on, grizzly bears are here, and you got people that don't want them here at all. And you got people that are like, let them just breed and go. As a hunter that goes out there and in bear country, I feel like there's an overpopulation of grizzly bears, just because every time I go, I'm seeing tracks, I'm hearing them, I'm feeling them, like they're there. And I want to hear a true expert's opinion on this and where to go from there.
Well, I wanted to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I hear this a lot, and I want to hear it from a Montana kid. So why do you think there are too many grizzly bears out there? Because you see a lot of tracks?
I mostly, like, I've seen, growing up and hunting with my dad up in the canyon and whatnot, I've seen the elk population, and the big bulls seem to be smaller now, younger. They're just not living longer. And I'm not just blaming the grizzly bears, but obviously wolves throw a huge part in that as well.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just listening. So that's not just me. I feel there's more grizzly bears.
I don't mean to pick on you, because it is something I hear all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And I haven't really ever asked somebody straight out, like, when they say that, what do you really mean? Like, when you say, I think there's too many bears out there, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you said it, because I think we have to define what that means.
Yep.
Like, that is something we have to define. That may be the case, but it needs to be defined in real science, logic, and not emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because emotion can go both ways, right? Again, it's like you take the tree huggers, and if we were going to manage animals on their emotions, it would be illogical, right?
Correct.
So we have to take logic out of managing wildlife. So if you're afraid of a grizzly bear because you've seen a lot of tracks of them, and you're out there and you're afraid of it because you've seen a lot more tracks than you've ever seen when you were a kid, does that mean that there's too many, or does that mean that there was more than you were when they were a kid, right?
Correct.
Let's figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, I grew up here. Grew up hunting. I've seen the elk population change. There's a lot of factors, man. I've also seen how many fucking houses there are in Gallatin Valley and up the canyon, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that factors into the elk population?
Absolutely. Right.
So there's a lot of things going on here. So I think the thing, and again, this is something I'm just trying to rally people around, is like, let's take the emotion out of this. Let's have unbiased biologists, a committee of them, come to this table and say, okay, here's where the threshold is. There's too many wolves. There's too many bears. And then once we get there, what do we do?
Yeah.
Right? How do we manage them? But let's manage them in a way that makes sense for science, the health of our ecosystem. And so we can get to a place where all the species are doing okay. The whole ecosystem holistically is doing okay. And we'll manage them accordingly. And does that mean hunting some grizzly bears? Does that mean hunting some more wolves? Probably. But let's have it based on something that makes sense. That's not emotion. Because I hear that, man, I've got friends on both sides.
Yeah,
I really do. And growing up in Montana, I definitely have friends that are more on one side than the other, right?
Yeah.
And I try to just really listen, and I try to bring this to the table. I think most people, once they hear it, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. Right.
Right.
And I think that's where it's at. Is that, you know, a lot of people say we need to hunt grizzly bears because they need to be afraid of us. This is one of my new favorite things to talk about. Grizzly bears attack people for one reason. And I wouldn't say, let me rewind a little bit.
Yeah. Because I watched they attack for a couple reasons because I watched your episodes.
Right, a couple reasons.
Yeah, okay.
But the main reason, 99% of the time a grizzly bear attacks you is because it's coming over to eliminate a threat. That's based on that animal being afraid of you, right? It's a fear thing. So that animal is close to you. You step in close. It's like, oh shit, I got to protect my cubs. I got to protect myself. I'm going to go over there and put the stomp on it, right?
Right.
That's why people get attacked, right? It's fear-based. So if we're going to hunt grizzly bears to put more fear into them, is that really going to cure it? And do hunted bears that have died, learn anything?
Right.
Does the active pursuit of being around bears and being confident because you're hunting them really going to make the bears more afraid of you when you're doing that than they are now?
Damn, didn't really think about that.
Most people don't.
But as a cub, well, I guess as a cub, if you shoot the parent, the cub dies too, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really teach them.
You're not teaching anything. So I actually, and I've thrown this out there a couple times, I do believe once the grizzly bear hunt starts, which it will eventually, and I think we should hope that it does.
Once the grizzly bear
hunt starts.
Yep.
That transition period, more people will get mauled than ever. Because there'll be more people out there actively pursuing bears. Those bears you're going to be in closer contact with bears, and there's just going to more shit's going to go down. I promise you, mark my word right now. There's going to be a learning curve there that's going to be tough. I've been in places all over the world, up in Alaska, through Canada, where bears aren't hunted, and you'd be surprised how chill they are.
Okay.
I've been in places where bears are hunted, and you'd be surprised how not chill they are. And I've seen both sides of this, though. So I'm just going to be fair and open-minded about it. I've also been places where there's bears not hunted, and they've done things that have scared the shit out of me. And I've been in places where bears are hunted, and you can't even get close to them because they just catch a whiff of you from a mile away, and they're just out of there. It's dynamic, man. There's not a real cut and dry thing. It's pretty gray. But I guess the rewind is that's not the reason why we should be hunting them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The reason why we should hunt them is because their population got to a healthy population, right? There's enough of them out there that they have a sustainable population that should be hunted, right? And if we get to that point and we're managing them and helping them keep that population at that level, that's a good thing for everybody.
Correct.
Tree huggers are excited because there's a healthy population of bears on the landscape. Hunters are excited because they feel like they have some stakes in the game and they can actually do something to manipulate the predator population. Yep. And I'll tell you what, people love, it's the same with wolves right now. I had a couple of rancher friends that are, they grew up, when the wolves came in here, their dad particularly hated it. Like he was like going to go full vigilante mode. He didn't care what the wolf was, where it was, it's going to die. Right? Yeah. And so they grew up in that mentality. But as they grew up hunting wolves, they now love hunting them. Like they love the actual action of hunting wolves and trying to outthink them.
Yeah, that's hard.
And it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the hardest animals to hunt.
Yep.
And so now it become a game. And if you would have asked them 10 years ago if you could push a button and all the wolves would go away, they would have done it in a second. Now they're like, no, man, this is fun. This has been really fun.
I'm living for this.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And it's part of Montana to them now. They grew up with wolves around.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we don't need as many as there are on the landscape right now. We'd love the elk population to come up in certain areas. But now at least we're in control of that a little bit. And I feel like that's the balance. And man, you grew up here. Right. I feel like if we can get there and we can get everybody's mindset there, I think we'll start moving the needle the right direction. But we're in this like pendulum game, right? It's like, hippies are happy, and then everybody wants to kill everything is happy. And it's just like, no. And it just goes back and forth and pisses everybody off. I go to these Fish and Wildlife Commission meetings, man. And it's like everybody who stands up and talks, they're either like they hate it or they love it too much.
Correct, yeah.
And there's no one in the middle, which I think most Montanans somewhere in there that are trying to figure it out and especially when it comes to wildlife. Like, come on, we grew up hunting. We want to continue to hunt. We don't want that to go extinct. There's these badass animals out there. We'd love to be around them. We can figure out a way to live with them, and that might be management. And
that's Casey. That's why you're the guy. right? Like you have your own sanctuary where you saved grizzly bears, but you're not, some lover of everything and thinks these things all need to live. And that's why this is so interesting. Like you raised a bear from a cub till he was, how old was Brutus when he died? Like
about 20,
20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you would think like you love bears more than anything. They shouldn't die.
I do.
Yeah.
No, but I do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people would be shocked to think that I would be for a bear hunt.
Correct.
Right. But if you understand nature wholly and how the human dynamic is with nature now, there's no other way to live. Like if we didn't hunt grizzly bears at all and let the population get out of control, it'd be one of the worst things we could do for bears in general. It'd be one of the worst things we could do for nature. Right.
Yeah.
We live in a time, it's fragmented ecosystems all over the place. Humans are messing it up in many different ways. But we have to manage it. And that's one of the best tools is through hunting. And then it brings everybody to the table, all the stakeholders, and they all got skin in the game. And man, I don't know. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but it sure feels like that's a good one.
I wish that all kids had to go through hunter safety. All kids. Like it's just like a course in school, at least in Montana, that every kid goes through, because these tree huggers, right? They don't understand how much hunting helps the ecosystem. And that's what I learned in hunter safety is like, all right, unless these elk, deer are managed, shot, killed, ate, everything like that, then they get out of whack.
Yep.
Especially before, or if they're in areas where there's not wolves or predators that take them down, like then they all die of other illnesses, sicknesses, or anything like that.
Yep.
It really opened my eyes. And I think that that's something that people should have to take just to learn more about what we're surrounded with here in Montana.
Yeah, no, it's complicated.
Well, and one thing I want to go into, Casey, is we were talking about the population. And once the bear population gets to a healthy amount, then can we bring up the idea of hunting them? And from what I've heard, and again, this is what I've heard, and that's why I'm glad to have you on. Since we put in bears in the endangered species, right, list, was that in the 70s or 80s? We're beyond that number now. That they sat down and like, hey, this is the number where they're at a healthy population, plus we're at quite a bit plus now.
Yep.
At what point is the plus significant enough to cause a commotion, stir the pot, and say, all right, we need to hunt these things?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put a number on that. I mean, like right now in the Yellowstone ecosystem, they say 1,300 to 1,500 bears, right?
Okay.
I think one thing we got to do when that decision's made is be very thoughtful about it, because, they just came off the list. The numbers just coming out the list. So it's just like, so we hunt them right away. Maybe it doesn't make sense. We got to give them a little bit of a buffer zone. And then also they're an animal that is very, even though they're a tough animal, they are very sensitive to changes in the environment. So it's a long-term thing. And so it's like watching them. So maybe we hunt them a little bit at a time, start off slow, really feel it out. It's going to be hard. I think where Montana right now says that when we reach that number that's on the EAS, they're going to at least wait 5 years before they make a decision.
Okay.
And whoever came up with that language is pretty smart.
Okay.
It's just like, let's all just take a deep breath, right? And I think we ought to do this and just like sit here and watch and see if it's going to keep trending up, see if anything changes, and see, and then make a very logical decision. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And that's also, where does that grizzly bear's range end, right? So as their population goes up, we're starting to see them in mountain ranges that haven't showed up before. That we're going to have them in the bridgers, I'm sure, before not too long. They're going to be in the crazies before not too long. Can they live there? Can the grizzly bear live there? Yes. But can they live there socially too? Or are the people going to allow them to be there? Maybe not. Right. I think we got to kick those things into consideration too. So there's going to be a point where that bubble is going to stretch to a point where it's just not going to go anymore. And when that hits that point and that bubble keeps filling up, then we're getting to a point we have to manage, right? And that's just an ecological thing, because we have too many bears on the landscape. They're killing elk calves more and more or whatever. Then, the elk population is going to start to dive down. We got to watch those populations. But like right now, if we just take region 3, the Southwest Montana,
yep.
We are at or above objective all the ungulates. Elk populations above in most places. Mule deer is right at it. So everything's doing pretty good. So we've reached a really nice balance right now.
Okay.
So as predators start to go up, which they are, then we got to start to manage them to make sure that balance stays. If they start to become too much, you'll start to see elk populations drop down. You'll start to see the other populations drop down. Then we have to, we got to up this a little bit more until that comes back up. It's not going to just go even and stay even. It's going to be a little bit of this for a while, and then we're just going to have to steer it straight. But that's just going to take someone with their finger on the pulse, watching this very critically, especially in the first years. And I think it'll be figured out, man. I really do. And I think, look at bighorn sheep, for example. There's guys that are paying like $600,000 to shoot a bighorn sheep, right? And most of that goes back into conservation. And I really do believe that there'll be a point where a big grizzly bear might bring in some big money, and that could be something that would go back to conservation. Yeah, it's never going to be like hundreds of bears being killed. I don't think every year. I think right now, they think that the maximum could be 50, but the realistic could be more like 10 or 15. Because they're slow reproducers too. That's the other thing. It's like once you take one out, for another one to come in and fill that doesn't happen. Like there's just so many cubs on the landscape every year. It takes time. Yeah, it's complicated. It's more complicated than I know, dude. I'm not like a biologist that's out there studying this stuff.
But you live it, you walk it, you see it. You see it a lot more than the biologists do. They have all the technology and everything, and that's why I wanted you on, not some dweeb in the lab or whatever it may be, and maybe someday. But I want to be with somebody from Montana that lives it, that actually goes out and packs and enjoys the hunt, and whether you're hunting or not, but you enjoy the,
Dude, I kill elk every year with my bow. So, I've been doing that since I was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's insightful. One thing that I'm seeing on your videos, how many times have you been charged by a grizzly bear? Like 9 times?
Probably, yeah.
Like 9 times, which is pretty insane. Ralphie got charged last year when we were bow hunting together, so that was kind of fun.
Wow.
Yeah. But
his story.
How cool, calm, and collected your videos are when you're getting charged. It blows my mind. Is that just your comfort with bears?
I'll make an analogy that I think you can relate to. It's just being in the pocket, man. It's just being in the pocket. And if you're in the pocket long enough and you believe in your O-line man sitting there and being able to do it, and then in that sense, it's just believing in your capabilities and understanding what the play is in front of you, you can be calm in it. And you have to be, or you're not going to execute.
Correct.
And I think that's one of those things that I've gone over that play so many times in my head, over and over and over and over. So when it comes down, when it's game time, you have to, it's a muscle memory. Sure. I mean, my heart rate goes up. Actually, there's been times I start to worry about myself because I will immediately go like that. I'm like, and I look at my camera guy and go, that didn't even make my heart rate go up.
No shit.
Because we got charged by an elephant recently, and I'm just like, I knew she wasn't coming, but she was coming full steam, and her ears were flaring wide open, and she looked like she was going to plow us, but I just knew she wasn't because I could see something in her body language, and it didn't even make my heart rate go up. I'm not trying to brag or anything.
No.
This is just
being in the field
experience. Yeah. And it's the same. It's again, the analogy is the game. It's the game, man. You're in the pocket, and you got to focus, and it's the only way you're going to execute. And that's just the thing, man. I've been around body language of bears. I mean, again, grew up in Montana, out there hunting, out there seeing grizzly bears all the time, learning about them. And then I would come home to a bear for 20 years. So body language became something that became my second nature. Again, and the other side of that though, I got to tell you, because I don't want to sound like I'm a maverick. Because I know at any time these bears could kill me. Mm-hmm. And I never forget that. And I've seen the dark side of it. I like to remind people that I've carried the body of a man off a mountain that was killed by a bear. I've seen bears attack people. I've seen the worst of it. I've seen bears kill other bears right in front of me. I mean, I've seen the worst of these animals. Mm-hmm. I was actively hunted down by a male bear once.
Wow.
So I've seen it all. And I think, but in that, it's just a reminder that this is the real possibility and never to become complacent in it. But if you let fear take over and that little ounce of panic gets in your body, you're going to throw the interception. Yeah. And you don't want to throw an interception in that situation because you're going to lose your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a video of 2 bears, I think the sow right by the fence came after you and you had your bear spray out and you were just sitting there waiting. And then she backpedaled in. Was it a she?
Yeah.
She backpedaled
No,
in.
and in fact, that when I rewatched that video, it's funny because in the moment it was all instinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually would take 2 steps towards her as she's charging me. And I don't, it's very strange. Like I had to sit there and
That is strange.
analyze myself. Yeah. I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Right. And I remember why I did it is because she went through that fence and then she was coming through. And I remember subconsciously, I must've thought, I want that spray to be in her face about the same time she's making a decision how she's going to go through that fence. So I wanted multiple things to be going down in that moment behaviorally for her. That was the behavior I wanted. So I actually just wanted to get it over with. And so I stepped up in the pocket, man, and I just went because I needed to.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't realize it in the moment. And I don't, again, would never advocate for anybody to take steps towards a bear. But that was just something I saw something in the body language. I knew how this whole thing was going to go down. And I just wanted this play to be perfect. And it worked.
Yeah. And you didn't even have to spray your spray.
No.
Yeah. It
it was the move.
It directed her off enough. Huh?
Yeah. It was that. It was, I think, again, I've broke this down a lot of times. This taking the steps forward was a confidence that I don't know she knew how to deal with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's never seen that before. Because the opposite, right? What most people would do is take the 2 steps back.
Yeah.
And in that game of space that you're playing with the bear and body language you're playing with the bear, that actually is not a good thing in that situation. And so, yeah, she didn't know what to do with it. And she just said, I'm out of here.
Well, and there's been five bears shot, I think, this year already. That's why I was like, I gotta get some expert on that knows bears because that's a lot.
Dude, it's going to keep going up. I mean, I think there's more people in grizzly country. There's more grizzlies in grizzly country. The amount of interactions going on. The shooting thing, I wish could go and be a forensic person on some of these because I can't say this 100%. I'll never fault anybody for defending themselves, right? Because they should. Right?
Yeah.
But in order for some of these guys, I've seen them, like I've taken a look at their picture, and I'm like, that guy fast trot a grizzly bear on a full charge? I have my doubts a little bit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these people are engaging with grizzly bears. They're afraid. There's probably nothing's going to happen. That bear's looking at them close range, and they just
End it.
Yeah. And it's hard. Again, can you fault a guy? He doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll guarantee if I was there, I'd probably say, no. That she's going to walk away. She's going to walk away. Just let her walk. But I'm the only, again, it's hard to teach people that, I guess. But I think a lot of these people are engaging with these bears, and these bears probably would be walking away, but they're just ending it because they're worried about it.
Yeah. I think that I think people need to go to your website and watch a video of you and your buddy that's part of the holster company that shot that target, that the ball that rolls down the hill or bounces down the hill that mocks like the speed of a bear coming at you, and see how accurate you are with the gun, which my buddy did that in Alaska, and he was special forces. And when he was out hunting, he went to a bear specialist. He's like, this is how we mock it. And he shot at it and everybody missed. He's like, you cannot understand how fast a grizzly bear is coming at you, charging at 35, 40 miles an hour, and how hard it is to hit 8 inches basically is what you need to hit their brain or their spine is what I learned from you. How hard that is.
So hard. And, in those circumstances, in those test runs, we know it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time you're hiking to the woods, you're listening to the elk bugle, and you're just getting sneak mode, and you're sneaking all of a sudden, coming out of the forest. You're thinking about something completely else, right?
Yeah.
And now you're surprised, and you're going to turn, draw your firearm, aim properly, and pull the trigger and hit that 8-inch thing.
You're pretty good. If
You got to be so good. You
Yeah.
got to be so good. And people can do it.
Yeah.
And often what happens too, I think a lot of people are shooting these things with, they're literally sticking it right in their nose, and pulling the trigger. But I think there's sometimes people are just pulling the trigger. A bear looks at them 30 yards away, and they just boom, they just level it. No, it's hard, man. And I think that's the thing, it's hard. You talk about bear spray.
Yeah.
I've used bear spray and it's worked 100% of the time.
Okay.
I've never folded a firearm and shot. I have them on me fairly often.
Yeah.
They both have their limitations. And I think that it's just, you got to be confident in one of them, and you got to practice with them and understand and have confidence in that tool. And think about it. Like when I'm walking through the woods, I'm always reaching up and grabbing my bear spray. I reach up and I just do that. So I know where it's at. I just think about it. And sometimes when I'm walking and I'm just not thinking about anything, I'm like, I'm going to just, pretend, like visualize a bear's coming through those trees right there. And I turn and I pull it out and aim.
Yeah.
Right. Just go through those things. And you did this, you played ball, right? You go through these visualizations all the time, and you practice. Because when it comes game time, you have to be able to just tap into that. And because you're not going to be on your A game.
Yeah.
You're going to be surprised. There's going to be a little bit of panic. You're going to get that adrenaline spike. And if you can't control that all and get down to that focus, you're going to get munched.
Yeah. Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast.
And that's what's nice. Like, just like you said, practice, but stand your ground, get used to standing your ground. Even in practice, like, okay, this thing's going to charge, hold tight. Like
don't freak out.
You gotta, if you freak out, you're done.
You're so done. And so the other two things I love to tell people, because it's so true. If those two items don't work, don't scream, don't fight. Don't scream, don't fight. I've interviewed 20 plus people that have been attacked by grizzly bears that have survived. Every single one of them tell the same story. As soon as they started fighting, the bear fought harder, wanted to start attacking harder. As soon as they started to scream, the bear went for their head and their face and their neck and tried to make the squeaky toy stop squeaking.
Okay. Yeah.
You watch your dog squeak. Once that squeaker dead, it's very instinctual to make the sound stop. So it's so hard to tell people this. Like, because I think what most people do when a bear attacks them is scream and fight, right?
Yeah.
But if you tell them straight up, the raw truth is like, the more you scream, you're gonna get ripped to pieces. I mean, the more you fight, you're gonna get ripped to pieces. And as soon as you start screaming, and every single time those people start screaming, the bear immediately goes to their face. And if you see the people that have been attacked by grizzly bears, their scalps ripped off, their faces ripped off.
Yeah.
And that happens every time they start to scream. So if you tell people, and no filter, unfiltered, 100%.
Yeah.
Kids at home, don't scream, because you'll get your fucking face ripped off.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
That's the truth. That's what I never thought of that.
Yeah. They want to make the noise stop, and they can. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know, like, okay, black bear, fight a black bear. Grizzly bear, play dead. But I was like, but my ego is like, if I'm going out, man, I'm going out with a fight. But then hearing you say that, like, no, okay, yeah, you play dead. Play dead.
There was these high school girls up Seuss Creek, that's up down the valley.
Yeah.
And they had a bear come running over to them. They all went down and play dead situation. They just all tucked up like turtles. And that bear came over and sniffed them all and walked away. Never even touched them. And again, I've heard those stories many times where a bear will come over, person goes play dead. The bear might give them a couple of little bites and then just goes away. I've never heard of, and anybody listening to this can prove me wrong, where someone's played dead and the bear ate them.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. I mean, you got to do that then. I mean, if it works,
hard.
it works.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing you want to do is, just instinctually, is like push that thing away, right?
Yeah.
But that's it. You're engaging a fight. You got to know that the bottom line is they are coming over to eliminate a threat. So you got to think about that. It's like the same thing. If you and I got into it right now, right? I saw you as a threat and I started attacking. You didn't want to fight me, and if you stop fighting, I would stop fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the more you started clawing at me, we'd be clawing at each other more, right? And it's just instinctual.
Yeah.
And it's just that they're coming over to eliminate a threat. As soon as you become non-threatening, they want to get away from you. They're afraid of you. Yeah, simple.
And then you think like you're gonna climb a tree to get away from it, and all my buddies are like, oh, I just climbed that tree. I'm like, when's the last time your dumbass has ever climbed a tree?
Exactly.
You know how hard it is to climb a tree,
So
especially
hard.
when you're running from a grizzly bear.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's funny.
no
we
way.
were just talking about it the other day. Me and my camera guy, we just said something. We were talking about running, and we just laughed like, when's the last time you sprinted?
You blow your hamstring like that.
Yeah, right.
That's like the orthopedic surgeon's favorite sport or in the summer is softball, because all these adults come out and they think they're in high school. They can just run full sprint to the first base and everybody blows a hamstring. Like,
Yeah, you're not ready for it.
Yeah. You're not warm.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So I mean, it's just like all that. We're sprinting to the tree and climbing it right now.
Ain't gonna
No,
happen.
you're probably going to end up floundering on the ground like a fish out of water, and the bear's going to come over and beat you up.
So when you're in heavy bear country, you know there's grizzlies everywhere. Your weapon of choice would be bear spray.
It's my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
you
think,
still pack a gun or no?
I do a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of time it's in my pack. But if I'm in a place where I, like, for example, like if I got an elk down and I'm gutting it out, I'll put my handgun on my chest rig. And sometimes I'll have my bear spray like right there on the side. But yeah, sometimes I'll amp it up. It depends on what's going on, where I'm at. But my go-to is bear spray. Unless it's a crazy windy situation, it'll always be my go-to. Because I've seen it work.
And not because you love bears, but
Not
you
at all.
legitimately think, like, not think, but that's your life's in whatever you pull. So you're saying bear spray is the best chance over a gun.
It will stop a bear faster than the gun will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The odds are higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the bottom line. There's nothing to do with how much I like the bear. Because in that moment, I'm only thinking about going home with my kids.
Correct.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that. And I've seen it work so many times. And I'm so confident in it. And I'm not that confident in my shooting ability in those cases, and you got to kill it. I mean, once you start shooting, you have to kill it. And then something I asked in that video, I thought of it in the moment. I asked my buddy Justin, who's, he's a military guy, really good with a handgun. I'm like, usually it's not going to be, if you guys are hunting together, right? His bear spray is going to save your ass, not yours, right? And vice versa. So, a bear's on you, you're tucked up, not screaming, not fighting, and he's got the choice between bear spray and a handgun. Which one do you want him to use?
Yeah, probably that bear spray. Yeah.
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 Hey, totally.
Unless you're ending me, that's fine too, but use the gun.
So it's it's scary to think, because in that panic situation, you want everybody just putting like 5 rounds into that mass of that's tangled up there.
Right.
No.
Well, to go off of that, it's interesting. One, it's eye-opening to me that I need to practice more with bear spray and my pistol. Like both those. Like I come in like I'm John Wayne with this pistol. I don't shoot it nearly enough. But I need to practice with bear spray, and probably there's a ton of bear spray you can just get, expired bear spray, and practice and make my wife practice and all that.
They actually sell inert cans, so without the active ingredient in it. So it's just literally spray. You can spray your wife in the face. You guys could take turns charging each other.
Yeah,
It's kind of fun.
do it to my kids. That'd be fun.
But yeah, make sure it's inert, or it'll
Okay.
be the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use those all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, you can quick draw and you can just get used to the thing and see how far it sprays out and everything. But there's things that you can do before you even get to that point.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for anybody out there in grizzly country. Fundamentally, always remember that bears are more afraid of you than you are of them.
Okay.
It's that 1 in a million chance that a bear's ever actually looking to hunt and eat you. Very, very. I mean, it's so rare. Most often, they want to get away. So if you're walking around in bear country and you don't want to see a bear and you're not out there hunting, trying to be quiet, just talk. Literally, that is one of the best things. A human voice, a bear, there's no denying what that is, and they're just going to go away from it. It's just talking. You don't have to scream, "Hey, bear," and do all that crazy stuff down the trail. But if you're by yourself, just talking to yourself maybe once in a while, you might look crazy, but it's better than getting munched on by a bear, or just having a conversation with people when you're going on the trail. Especially when you get to those blind corners or kind of thicker trees, just talk a little bit more. And then pay attention to the wind. A bear navigates the world because they have an amazing sense of smell, 7 times stronger than a bloodhound. So if you have the wind at your back, there's a good chance that you're probably scaring things away in front of you. But if you have a stiff wind in your face, maybe you need to talk a little bit more because that bear is not going to be able to detect you. And then if you do encounter a bear and it's standing there looking at you, let's just say like an average thing would be like you're walking on trail and 30 yards away, there's a grizzly bear there. What you do in that moment is really going to dictate what that bear is going to do. So being calm,
Okay.
not acting threatening. So I always like to, I tell this, I've said this 1,000 times and I really think is the right way of doing it. Imagine if you were in your backyard and some dude jumped the fence while you're sitting there laying around drinking a beer. What would you want that guy to do? You want him to go, sorry, wrong yard. I'm going to go back over the fence, right? Sorry, dude. Like, I'm out of here, right?
Yeah.
And being kind of cool and calm and backing up slowly.
Yeah.
Do the exact same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally, you see that bear and it's looking, it's like, oh, sorry, bear. And talking, like, even though they can't understand what you're saying, It's the intonation of your voice. And the other thing that happens, like when you do this, like even like I'm doing right now, like I'm explaining, like I'm doing things with I'm breaking eye contact. I'm talking in this low kind of calm voice. I'm turning my head kind of like this. And that is something, your body language is doing something that the bear can understand. And by saying that stuff, it actually fakes yourself into doing that stuff a little bit more.
Yeah.
Tricks your body into doing it. And then the bear sees that your intentions are like, oops, oh shit, I'm backing out of here.
Not a threat.
Not a threat.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, more, I've had probably 1,000, but definitely high hundreds bear encounters.
Damn.
And that's how they almost always go down.
Damn. Yeah. Just be cool.
Be cool.
If I could just tell everybody to be cooler, your life's pretty easy.
And think about it. I mean, those bears are interacting with other animals all the time, mountain lions, packs of wolves, each other. They figure it out. They're not fighting every time. You know, they just wouldn't be sustainable. They'd be getting injured all the time and life doesn't go on. They don't want to fight.
Right.
So they're always looking for a way out. So you just have to give it to them. But the problem is, man, people just don't do the right thing. Like they get in those situations, it gets tense, they get tense, they start to panic, they do weird things, and that bear's is like, well, I'm going and making this go away.
Yeah.
And you know, you've been around people that way.
Right.
You know, it's funny to just talk about body language, but like eye contact. Like if I sat here and just stared at you really weird like this for a while and started doing weird things with my body,
yeah,
it can make you feel weird, right?
Fuck, I feel like I'm doing that to you this whole time. Am I making you feel weird? I'm like really interested in what you're saying, but shit, you just explained me.
But it does make you uncomfortable. And then like if you're a person who deals with those uncomfortableness aggressively, you're just come over and slap the shit out of me. You say, get out of here, dude.
Not
right?
handle it well. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what a bear's doing. I mean, you're starting to make it uncomfortable. It's just going to deal with it the way it deals with things. And it's just going to go over and slap the crap out of you. But we as humans can't deal with that. You know, our bodies come apart.
Yeah. What about music? Play music?
Music's an interesting thing because they say unnatural sounds like high-pitched horn or something like that, or clinking, like bear bells, for example. Used to be a thing people said, wear bear bells.
Yeah.
It's not a natural sound. It actually, bears have been curious to it.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? Like, and they'll come to it. So I think music, I've seen animals come to music before.
Okay.
Because I think they hear parts of it and they just think it sounds like something squeaking that they want to go over and eat maybe. So it's like, it's just a curiosity thing. So.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I was coming out hunting by myself in the trees and it was late, you know, and I turned on my music as loud as I could. So maybe don't bait them in, Dane.
I mean, I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah.
Depends what kind of music you're listening to.
Yeah,
you know? Like, there's a great video I saw online that went viral where a lady had an encounter with a mountain lion and she played some Metallica. And it was a great Metallica song. And I think it was one of those songs, like, it sounds like a confident and aggressive song, you know? And that cat just like shit and was out of there, right? Now, if you're playing like Beethoven,
you're bringing them in.
Yeah.
No, that's not for me. I mean, I think you nailed everything that I wanted to really get into on just the guns, the bear spray. There's nothing much more that I could pick your brain out without wasting your time and, shorter podcasts, man. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that I missed out on that you think that people really need to hear? Because you touched on a lot that eye-opening to me. I know it's eye-opening to anybody listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is, man, I don't know it all. I'm just giving you my truth.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time, and arguably more than most people, out there in the woods. I'm not a weekend warrior. I'm out there every day. And I'm just giving you the facts I know. And I really do think that, let's listen, take what I say any way you want to. Some people aren't going to change their mind, but if you're on that edge, please try to dig into it, listen.
Are you bringing your kids? I know you got 3 young kids. Are you bringing them along in the mountains with you in high grizzly country?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I live in a place where there's a ton of rattlesnakes too.
Yeah.
Just an example. And like people are like, what do you do with your kids with rattlesnakes? I'm like, I just teach them about them.
Yeah.
Like I teach them what they look like, what they sound like, what to do if you encounter them. And I had 22 rattlesnakes in my backyard one summer. Now I have 3 kids running around out there. It's terrifying as a dad, right?
Totally.
But I've over time become more confident because I'm confident in their ability to deal with wildlife, and barring a crazy mistake or an accident, they come in all the time and say, hey, Dad, there's a rattlesnake over here. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. And they come show me where it's at.
Yeah,
you know,
raise some badass kids, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, but you got to raise them that way, man.
Yeah.
The alternative is us to go ahead and sterilize Montana, which I'll tell you what, there's a bunch of people out there that are trying to do it right now.
You're correct.
And we don't want that.
No.
So I think that the people listening, the big takeaway is let's keep Montana.
Love it.
And the wild and everything that we love it. And man, don't sterilize it, man. Let's keep it the way and let's just learn to live with it.
Love it. Yeah. Casey, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.